And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
If you cannot speak and talk about the history of who they are, then they will not really carry your story. They will not understand their story. So today, the first thing I was the greatest revelation I was telling you a while back, is that most people trying to reach, and I'm going to specifically talk today, and next week will be Spanish, the following week Asian, etc. But I'm going to talk specifically today about the black culture. And I wanted to right now, I know, and how many would agree that I am not black? Can I get a witness, everybody? Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Pretty white to me. Can I get an amen up in here? Yeah. Praise God. Amen. So here's the deal. But what I want to share with you is I want to talk to you about is that, you know, we went across the country and we found out there's certain things that help reach that culture and reach it effectively. And there's certain things that don't make it happen. Okay. And today I would like to talk about those things that do reach the culture, specifically the men of the culture. And the first thing I found out is this. I found out that they do not know their history. That's one of the things that I know. And so you have to tell them their history. So today I'm going to attempt to do that.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
He's now positioned in a position of power and authority. He has given within him a belt. On one side is justice, and the other is blessing. He now is given the Constitution of God as a king. I give this to you, Bishop, as a sign of covenant, as a sign of release, as my sign of love for you. Amen. My brothers will come forth. 4 sons representing the 4 corners of the earth. They'll raise him up right now. He now is raised up from a commoner to a kingship. Come on, raise it up. And I'll walk him around. Come on! Come on, praise God.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The the white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have. When the schools suggested like the herding systems, because what they do is take the black community and they separate us, and they separate the families, and the educated, they push this, need for higher education, and us as blacks, we discriminate against each other and say, well, I got my PhD and you don't have your PhD, so I'm better than you. And
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean,
over the Caribbean,
South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I know that there was a little delay here. Uh, had to take care of a few things just when I got ready to go live and got ready to start giving some commentary. Got a phone call that I had to handle a pertinent situation. So I am good. There was a delay here because I got ready to go live and, well, actually got ready to. Well, can you guys hear me before I get started? Testing one time, 1, 2. If you guys could hear me, type 1 in the comment section. If not, type 2. But again, the reason why there was a pause is because had to handle some business of a phone call that came in. But if you can hear me again, type 1. Okay. All right. All right. Well, family, I appreciate you guys. Apologies for the pause in between, the unusual lengthy pause. But had to deal with some personal stuff that I had to take care of unexpectedly. All right, but anyway, I just wanted to do this last minute lunchtime uh, playbook. Not going to go too deep, but I know that many of you guys are having questions about Thanksgiving, and we'll touch on it a little, and hopefully this gives you something to go off of to when you're having discussions with your loved ones. And so right now, I didn't know that there was a number of lives, other people doing lives at this time. So not trying to infringe on whatever things that they have scheduled, but I just want to deal with this here. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. And I'm going to make it clear, as you see inside the title here, is that Thanksgiving is not the Passover, especially for us Negroes. Let me say that again. Thanksgiving is not the Passover. Thanksgiving is not the Passover. I can guarantee you that the Most High rejects this so-called holiday. There's nothing holy about this holiday. There's nothing set apart about this holiday when it comes to Yah's people. Thanksgiving is a reminder of the broken agreements, right? There were so many broken agreements that took place, right? Especially with the Aboriginals here. All right, let me do this one more time because I see someone said that they can't hear. If you can hear me, type 1. And if if you guys can hear me, Sister Rochelle, you may need to refresh your browser or close your browser and open it back up if everyone can hear me, but you can't. So maybe a browser may be muted. All right. So again, not a single Negro, not a single Aboriginal person should be honoring or celebrating Thanksgiving. Because when you do, you are celebrating the empowerment of the very people who have enslaved you, who have taken things from you that was not theirs. That's what happens. That's what many are doing when celebrating this holiday. And again, I can tell you that the Most High is not in it, especially when we understand how the Most High had to tell Israel when Israel began to deviate from the game plan in Amos chapter 5. They were still having feast days, but they began to mesh other cultures within them. And the Most High said, I don't honor your feast days. I don't recognize them. And told them that they were going to go into captivity because of polluting the very thing that the Most High said is his. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. I don't want to hold you up too long, but I want to start off with this icebreaker. Some of you guys that have known me for years, I've always started this lesson off or other lessons when I would go around and do, speaking engagements. I would start off with this icebreaker, right? And I've been teaching this icebreaker, doing this icebreaker for probably 8 or 9 years easily. So this is a great icebreaker if you do have a discussion with your loved ones. If you decide to go visit loved ones during tomorrow, you know, I would say use this as an icebreaker. Use this as an icebreaker. You know, unfortunately, many of our people, we will only come together on Thanksgiving and those type of holidays, not understanding that our heritage gives us uh, better opportunities to come together with, starting with the Passover. But if you have family come by or if you come in contact with family, use this as an icebreaker. Use this as an icebreaker. Does Yahweh love fried food? Right? And I know when I first asked this question, I remember when I first did this, starting with our assembly, they could not believe with what I'm going to share with you. Right? So I'm going to share with you. I'm going to give you the answer. Does Yahweh love fried food? Family, use wisdom when you're dealing with your loved ones. Use wisdom. Use wisdom. Right? Does the Most High love fried food? So I would tell them, if I can prove to you that the Most High love fried food, then you're going to come to our next feast day. You're going to come to our next feast day, and we are going to show you what the holy days truly are. Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, many of them renege on their obligation, their promise. But I'm going to give you clarity on this, right? And when I say fried food, family, don't think of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Don't think of getting all this lard and all that other stuff. That's not what I mean. But they did fry food back in the ancient times, and I'm going to prove it to you. And they prepped it the way grandma preps it right now. So I'm going to show you here. So when I say fried food, don't think of this unhealthy stuff that we see today, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. Leviticus chapter 2, verse 4 through 8. Notice what it says here. And if thou bring an oblation, quaraban or quarban, of a meat offering, manaka or manka, but we're just going to do it from the ancient without all the constraints and all that other stuff, connectors. So it's pronounced manaka, right? So, and if thou bring an oblation, quaraban, of a meat offering, manaka, baked in the oven, it shall be 11 cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, right? Notice what it says. I want y'all to pay attention. Listen to how this is prepared. And if thou bring an oblation of a meat offering baked in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. And if thy oblation be a meat offering baked in a pan, it shall be of fine flour, right? Fine flour, salath, right? Fine flour, unleavened, mingled with oil, shaman. Thou shalt part it in pieces and pour oil, shaman, thereon. It is a meat offering. I know you guys getting hungry off of this. And if thy oblations be a meat offering, right, baked in the frying pan. Let me say that again. If thy oblation be a meat offering baked in a frying pan, marakasha, right? You know, baked in a pan, right? Notice what you see here, frying pan. It shall be made of fine flour with oil. So notice how the meat is being prepared here. And what are we using here? What are we using here? A frying pan, right? Think about it. They're frying food. Here we go. And if thou shalt bring the meat offering that is made of these things unto Yahweh, and when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the altar, mazabach. So the Hebrew definition of frying pan, a stew pan, right? In other words, a deep dish. You guys know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys had that deep 5-gallon frying pan that grandma used to have, that big black iron frying pan that you could put, gallons of oil inside it. And then you drop your meats inside it. That's why it says stew pan, because it's deep. It's a deep frying pan. Sauce pan, stew pan. So this is not what we think like this is a flat pan, an inch deep. No, this is a deep frying pan. All right. So Leviticus chapter 7, verse 9. Notice what this says. And all the meat offering that is baked in the oven, and all that is dressed in the frying pan, marakashath, and in the pan shall the priest that offer it. All right. Then we go to Leviticus chapter 23, verse 13. Right. The Most High he love his fried food, right? He love his fried meat. He love it being prepared, but we're not going to stop here. But let me show you here. Let's go into it. Let's go into here. Leviticus 23 and 13. In the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10. So not only do the Most High love this fried food that was prepared for this feast day, he said he wanted double portion. He said it shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor, and the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of an hin. All right, so the Most High love fried food, family. Who is the people that tend to get ostracized, or the stereotypes, right? What is the face that you normally see in front of fried foods? Who is it? What group of people face that you normally see in front of fried foods? When you see it in front of fried chicken, what face do you see? You're going to always see our people at the front. Fried food is associated with our people. So we see Israelites, our ancient ancestors, they frying up some food, and guess what? The Most High love it. Not this large stuff and all that other stuff. All right. So just wanted to give you a little icebreaker, just to start off with a little humor here, because I know some of you guys are a little hungry right now after me just breaking this down here. And I know that even with me showing this fried food stuff, I know that Sister Carol right now is probably doing this. All right. So I just want to give you clarity, family. So this is part of our culture. We had a healthy culture, right? But not the culture that has been warped, right, and profaned, that now causes a health crisis among our community. Israel, when they fried their food, it wasn't this stuff that you see today. When they use their oils, as we see olive oil. It's medically proven that when you cook your meats in olive oil, it is much healthier. That's what we do. We use olive oil. All right. And so I just want to kind of bring this out here, family. Take it as you will. Let's not have a deep conversation over it, because I know some would take this simple icebreaker and they'll go way out into the deep end of it, right? But let's get to this here. What is Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving? Now, when we go to the 100th book of Psalms, verse 4, we see Thanksgiving here, but not the Thanksgiving that many of us have been institutionalized to celebrate and honor. We hear this scripture quoted a lot. All of us probably quoted this in church. I know this is one of the main scriptures, especially when you starting service, transitioning from the devotional service or intercessory prayer and now you want to open up for the worship to come forward, you guys know, enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name. Now, guess what? Most of just stop at praise and say that this is the day that Yahweh or the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. That's another Psalms that we could go into, right? But I just wanted to start with here. Enter into his gates, Sha'ar, with thanksgiving, Ba, Thawadah, right? The key is not with thanksgiving. In the Hebrew, you'll see the Ba, right? The Ba is a prefix that means in. So enter his gates in thanksgiving. It's a difference of with thanksgiving, you carrying it versus you being submerged in thanksgiving. So your Thanksgiving starts with you waking up in the morning and you blessing the name of the Most High. You blessing him, asking him and thanking him for allowing you to see another day that was not promised to you. That's how you wake up, and that's how you enter the gates. That's how you enter into the place that the Most High is designated for worship in thanksgiving, because you already prepared yourself before you even got to the place of worship. So when you wake up in the morning, you thank the Most High, you're in thanksgiving. When you thanking him and praying and blessing him before you even leave your house, that's in thanksgiving. You praying for safe travels to get from your house to your destination, you're in thanksgiving. When you pull up in that parking lot to go to your place of worship, guess what? You're in thanksgiving. So when you go into those doors, you already in thanksgiving. It's not something that's that you're carrying it as if it's like a bag or book or whatever. No, it's not an accessory. It's something that you are already submerged in before you get to the house of praise, the house of prayer. That's the true approach. And that's where the church has taught it wrong. You're not going into the house of the Most High with thanksgiving. No, you're totally submerged in it before you even get to the place of worship. And into his court with praise. Tha halal. So we're going into his court. Now you have the Thanksgiving going on. Now guess what? Now you're ready to what? Go into that inner court to praise, to let out your expressions of being in thanksgiving, because now you're getting ready to go into a corporate makwara, which transliterates to convocation. A kwadash makwara, holy convocation with your brothers and sisters, praising and thanking the Most High. So into his courts with praise, be thankful, right? Ha wada unto him, and bless Barak, his name, Sham. In other words, not just his literal name, but the reputation that comes with the name, the glory that comes with the name. So when we go further with this word Thanksgiving, here's the Hebrew definition, because I know I have up here, you see Thawadah. And I know some would try to go with this Israeli version of the ancient language. I'm not going to get into all of that. And they try to say, oh, yeah, it's told, and all this other stuff. I'm not getting into that. Not getting into that. Not getting into that. Not getting into all this, the stuff that many get into it. Oh, Todah and all that other stuff. No, ancient Hebrew is Thawadah, right? So let's go into this ancient definition here. And you see it right here, right? Thawadah. Right? There was no silent letters. There was no O sounds in ancient Hebrew. So I just want to reiterate that point. But anyway, ha-wadah. We have thawadah, ha-wadah, thanksgiving, thank, offering, thanksgiving, choir. In other words, corporate, procession. That's why you have in the church, and I'm sure some of you guys grew up in the church like I have in the Baptist church, you have what is called the processional, where you have the choir come out, everyone standing on their feet, and they're marching and singing, and everyone singing together. So Thawadah, this is a corporate praise. This is a corporate way of entering into that court, right? With praise, as we've already come into the gates in Thanksgiving. Now it's time for us to go into the courts, into the sanctuary, and give a corporate praise, a corporate thanks. All right. So I hope this helps you guys out here. Right. So the Hebrew definition of thankful or thanks, right? It says here, right? Here's the word hawadah or hawada'ah, right? As you see here at the bottom here, hawadah, right? I didn't put the extra letter here, but it says admission, acknowledgement. So when you thanking the Most High, you are making an admission. See, when you see the so-called 70, 72 names of the Most High, those are not names. Those are actually attributes. Those are expressions. When you hear someone say Jehovah Jireh, right? Those are just attributes. That's not the Most High's name. We know his name is Yahweh, but Jehovah is a transliteration of his name. But those are not, the Most High don't have all those names. But what you have is writers expressing the attributes based upon their acknowledgement of what the Most High has done for them. So when you see all these different Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nisi, Jehovah omnipotent, and all this omniscient, and all these different terms, that is the writer giving an acknowledgement, a personal acknowledgement of the Most High from their angle. So those are not multiple names of the Most High. So I want to make sure we understand that, because those are some of the things that we were taught incorrectly in church. The Most High don't have 70 plus names. He has one name, and he made it clear what his name is, right? So again, what is Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving? Who created this holiday? Here's a key prophecy before we get into answering that question. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2 through 4 from the Tanakh. I like how this reads, so I'm going to read it from there. We'll just actually start with verse 1. Hear the word which Yahweh has spoken to you, O house of Israel. Thus said Yahweh, do not learn to go the way of the nations. Let me say this again, family. Israel was charged. Thus said Yahweh, do not learn to go the way of the nations. Do not be dismayed by portents in the sky. Let the nations be dismayed by them. Verse 3, for the laws of the nations are delusions. Let me say that again. The laws of the nations are delusions. I like this translation here. The laws of the nations are delusions. Celebrating Christmas, the laws of the nations are delusions. Celebrating Easter, the laws of the nations are delusions. Celebrating Thanksgiving, the laws of the nations, this is dealing with all those that are not Israelites, are delusions. Valentine's Day, the laws of the nations are delusion. Lent, the laws of the nations are delusions. Ash Wednesday, the laws of the nations are delusions. We could go right down the list. Right down the list. For it is the work of a craftsman hand. He cuts down a tree in the forest with an axe. Right now, I'm not going to get into the Christmas portion of it, because that's not what this lesson is about. And I actually break this down with some lessons that's already up online. So I'm not going to get into this. You still have those that say that they are awakened, trying to use the scripture to justify putting up a Christmas tree. Right. So I do an in-depth study showing that we are not supposed to be engaging in these activities here. This is not of the Most High. Anyway, so the laws of the nations are delusions. What is Thanksgiving? Should we celebrate Thanksgiving? Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3 and 4. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. Aren't we seeing this today? But after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers. Aren't we seeing that today? You have so many people, for the sake of not wanting to give up these holidays, they would purposely gather together teachers that will justify them not having to give that up. We see that happening. Well, this person said this. See, they want to go to certain individuals that they know is going to perpetuate their behavior, keep it on going. You know, I did a lesson years ago, our first year with our assembly called the supermarket church, right? Whatever you don't want to let go, there's a church for it. If you only want to go to, let's just say, church once a month, there's a church that only opens up once a month. If you only want to go to church twice a month, there's churches out there you could go twice a month. If you want to go to a church that only assembles itself on a Tuesday, there's a church for that. If you want to go to a church that only has New Testament, there's a church for that. They call it the New Testament churches. They have an assembly for anything that you don't want to let go. And that's what this is saying here. Heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their hearts from the truth. The they is those teachers. That's what it's saying here. And they, right? Teachers and the teachers, the teachers, shall turn away their ears from their heart. Their ears, those that are what? Lusting, those that are after their own lust, shall be led astray by these false teachers. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. Right? So, Greek definition of fables. Let's see what it says. Mythos, right? A tale, an example, fiction, in other words, myth, and invention. Now, any holiday of these holidays, right? There are myths, there are inventions created by who? Who created Thanksgiving? Who created Black Friday? Who created these things? But again, many, for the sake of not letting these things go, they have certain teachers that they have selected that they use as their go-to to justify these behaviors. So mythos, right? And invention. So the invention of Thanksgiving is what I want to talk about real quick. The invention of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a fable. This is coming from the Smithsonian Magazine. The myths of the Thanksgiving story and the lasting damage they imbue, November 26, 2019. Right. So I kind of could, shrunk down this presentation just so that way it's not as lengthy, but I just want to keep it simple here. Didn't want to go too deep here for the sake of time. So the myths of Thanksgiving story and the lasting damage they imbue. So again, it says this: in truth, massacres, disease, and American Indian tribal politics are what shaped the Pilgrim Indian alliance at the root of the holiday. So what is the Thanksgiving myth? The myth is that friendly Indians, unidentified by tribe, welcomed the Pilgrims to America to and teach them how to live in this new place, sit down to dinner with them, and then disappear. They hand off America to white people so they can create a great nation. Those are the myths. Let me read it one more time. The myth is that friendly Indians, unidentified by tribe, welcomed the Pilgrims to America, teach them how to live in this new place, sit down to dinner with them, and then just disappear. They hand off America to white people so they can create a great nation dedicated to liberty, opportunity, and Christianity for the rest of the world to profit. That's the story. It's about Native people conceding to colonialism. Let me say that again, family. I hope you guys grab hold of this here. That is the story. It's about Native people conceding to colonialism. And family, let me drop this link in here because I like to drop links. I don't like to just give sources. So I'm sure some of you guys want to read this and may even talk to you, have a discussion with your loved ones about this. So I will drop the link into the comment section. And I encourage you guys to go back over and review this article here. Has some great information. I'm just giving you some highlights from it. I'm not going into the details of it, but I want you guys to understand what Thanksgiving is all about. So again, let me read that again. It says again, that's the story. It's about Native people conceding to colonialism. It's bloodless and in many ways an extension of the ideology of manifest destiny, right? And we're going to deal with that later on. So, what are the most poignant inaccuracies in this story? One is that history doesn't begin for native people until Europeans arrive. Doesn't that sound familiar, right? Right? The thinking, according to how things are taught in school, the Aboriginals here did not have a history prior to the Europeans. So they're like with our group, our ancestors, right? History teach as if we did not have a history. We didn't have a culture. We did not basically exist prior to the institution, the declaration of war that was declared to carry out uh, this slavery. So one is that the history doesn't begin for Native people until Europeans arrive. People had been in the Americas for at least 12,000 years, according to some Native traditions, since the beginning of time. And having history start with the English is a way of dismissing all of that. So there's proof that that people have been coming here well before Europeans set foot on this territory, the Americas. There's proof of Mansa Musa and his brothers having trades, sending ships to this area. There's proof. And I encourage you guys to look up James Adair. He points out, and he's touching in the areas of South Carolina, Virginia, not Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, some of the Native Americans, the Aboriginals that he had come across that spoke Hebrew, and their culture pointed back to Hebrew. Instead of saying Yahweh, they were saying Yohewa. Instead of saying Yahweh Shai, they were saying Yehovah Shai. It's documented, right? So again, that's the history that we don't get told about. That's the history you won't hear about. So the second is that the arrival of the Mayflower is some kind of first contact episode. It's not Wampanoags, excuse me if I mispronounced that word for those that are watching, had a century of contact with Europeans. It was bloody and it involved slave raiding by Europeans, right? So that first initial contact wasn't what they made it out to be in the storybooks, as if like the movies, as if like you see Pocahontas, like it was just this peaceful, friendly exchange. No, it was nothing like that. It was all out war. It was a bloody war, and it involved slave raiding by Europeans. Yes, they came here and they was enslaving the Aboriginals here. Many of the Aboriginals you see today are not a reflection of the Aboriginals that existed then. James Adair made it clear. He saw, and other explorers made it clear that they saw Aboriginals that looked like they were Ethiopians. And at that time, Ethiopia was the name of Africa, the entire continent. And that was the baseline that they would use to compare anyone that they went out in terms of looking for the lost tribes to basically compare them to. And they compared the local Aboriginals to the Ethiopians. Can an Ethiopian change its skin? So this is where you get, for example, the word Indian comes from the word indigo. Indigo, if you look it up, is blue-black. Sounds like the Ethiopian, right? So this is some of the history that we are not privy to. This is the history that we don't hear inside the church, right? Especially among our community. The earliest recorded Thanksgiving feast was held as far back as 1619. So what is the importance of this year 1619? And I should have kept the source in here, but what is the importance of 1619? 1619. Now, guess what? This is the first Thanksgiving. It points back to this year, right? 1619. And let me show you what's the significance of 1619, right? 1619 is the year that the raptured Negroes, our ancestors, were brought to the colonies. I know some of our people inside the church, whenever they hear me talk about the rapture, and actually some of our so-called awakened brothers and sisters, they get mad, man, when I go in and say that, give clarity about the rapture. They don't like to hear when I say rapture, and I'm going to break it down with sources to let you see exactly what rapture is. They get into their hopping bob modes, man, when I start giving clarity, proper clarity to the rapture. So let's see here. Let me uh, make this in bold so that way it stands out more, right? Because I just want to highlight that here. I think you guys can see it on your screen. You know, I'm a geek here, so I want to highlight these things. So again, 1619, and let me highlight 1619. 1619 is that year, right? So when you do the research, guess what? It's going to take you right to 1619 in regards to the initial celebration of Thanksgiving, right? So why is this a year important? And we'll get there to in a second. But right now, I want to discuss the rapture. Let me give you a definition of rapture for those that don't know this. It says here, rapture, act of carrying off, seizure, rape, kidnapping. It goes on to say raptus, in other words, a carrying off, abduction, snatching away, rape. Come on, family, we can't get away from this. We can't get away from this. One of the biggest delusions is growing up, you know, uh, to what I want to say, growing up from a perspective of in the church doing the rapture practice. The rapture practice. All right. That's what they do. That's what they do. All right. So again, we were so mentally or spiritually off. You know, when I was in Kojic, man, they'll shout out rapture practice. And guess what happens? People would jump up. They had us jumping up. Hey, hallelujah. Start crying out, shouting, praising the most high. And then when you start thinking about it, it's like, wait a minute, let me do it. Really look at this etymology of this word and see what rapture means. So that means that we're sitting up here waiting to be seized, raped, taken, kidnapped. Bear with me 1 second, family. Got a call coming in. All right, family. My apologies. I had to take a call here. You guys probably heard the ringing in the background. So the no sound is the I had to take a call here. So I still have some other things that I have to attend to in the process. So when you hear that sound in the background, this time of the year things get really hectic from financing and all that other stuff. Groups that I'm actually far as from my business perspective. So I'll just leave it at that. So this time of the year, it's like when they start closing out their books and fiscal years and all that other stuff. So it was very hectic around this time of the year. So, but yeah, getting back to what I was saying here, right? Act of carrying off, seizure, rape, kidnapping, a carrying off, abduction, snatching away, rape. See, family, this is where we have to really understand uh, history. See, when you start understanding history, family, you will understand that the rapture already happened. The transatlantic world war was a rapture because our ancestors were seized, they were raped, they were kidnapped, they were carried off, they were abducted, they were snatched away. All these different things that covers this word. Paul never talked about us being raptured. That doctrine began in the 18th century, that rapture doctrine. But according to the scriptures, man, we're going to have to endure to the end. Left Behind is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie when it comes to understanding the rapture. It made us believe that there's a problem with being left behind. When actually, when you understand left behind, we are the surviving portion. Let me pull up that presentation real quick. I want to pull something up real quick and we'll get back over to here. I may cut and paste that into here. See, when you understand the actual understanding of being left behind is the surviving portion. That's what the remnant is. But we're not taught that. We're taught something completely different that's way out of whack, that's not biblical. So let me do something here real quick. Bear with me 1 second. Let me pull this up here. Let me see. All right. I'm gonna pull this up here so you guys can see this here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up this PowerPoint, and I want you guys to understand what it means to be the remnant. All right, and then we'll get back into this lesson. Right, still dealing with the rape. This is what you're not going to be taught. This is what we're not going to be taught. This is the delusion that the church has done. Catholicism, Christianity. Actually, I'm gonna put Judaism up under that as well. All this is the wool that they pulled over our eyes. Let me pull this up. Let me pull up this presentation. Let me stop this one. All right, here we go. All right. All right. So let me pull this up here. All right. Let's see here. Y'all see that guy? If you guys saw the movie, you'll see where I'm going at. That's Nikolai from the movie. All right. So let's get to the remnant. All right. Let me show you here. So that way you guys understand exactly what it means to be the remnant. And I did a lesson on this It should be still posted, but let me explain to you what the remnant is real quick. Let's see here. Let me get to here. All right. Right. Remnant. Right. Sha'ar. Let's see what it means. Notice what it says. Oops. A remainder or residual, excuse me, surviving or final portion, remnant, rest. So family, guess what? We are the surviving portion. I want to say thank you for Paulette Stenton. Thank you for the super sticker family. Let's show some love for Paulette Stenson, excuse me. Let's thank you again for the love and support. So again, family, we see here a remainder or residual, a residual. In other words, surviving final portion. So family, the remnant is really the surviving portion. The movie Left Behind had our brothers and sisters. You saw the brother man up in there. He was like questioning his faith. He was ready to curse and give up on the Most High because he was saying he did everything right, but he was left behind. Family, after all what we've been through as a people, a world war was declared against our people. You know, you have, they call it the transatlantic slave trade, which was a world war, right? That's a whole nother discussion. We'll touch on it a little bit, but we were raped, kidnapped, all kinds of things, just to even make it to those slave ships. Millions of our ancestors were murdered. And then once we got on those slave ships, just to make it from those slave ships, from that shore, from that port, from that ocean, right, across the ocean to make it to the ports in these foreign countries, guess what, family? A lot of our ancestors died. Sharks and birds were following the trails of these slave ships, these warships, these what you want to call it? Another term I was looking for, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but cargo ships. Because many will ask the question, where are the slave ships? Those slave ships were cargo ships. They were also pirate ships. They went up under different names. But taking all of that in consideration, then to come off those ships, then to have to be subjected to the stuff that we had to be subjected to after all of that. Family, we are the remnant. We are the surviving portion. So when people want to insult you, you let them know, no, I am the surviving portion. That's what it means to be the remnant. That means that you are the surviving portion. The remnant is the surviving portion, family. The primitive root definition of this word, as you see here, to swell up. An example, be redundant. Notice what this says, left, be left, remain, remnant. And here's the kicker. What do you guys see here? Be left behind. Wait a minute. So the primitive root word sha'ar means be left behind. That just completely cancels out that movie. So when you see the Left Behind movie, they're actually making being left behind a bad thing. Family, we are the surviving portion. We are the portion that is keeping Israel intact. We're that surviving portion, unlike Lot. When Lot went to the metropolitan of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? He didn't have enough righteousness that was in him and his walk that allowed the Most High to say, you know what, I'm gonna leave the city intact. No, the Most High said to Abraham, I'm going to remove him in a nutshell. But guess what? The city's still going to be destroyed. Do you have that much in you that the Most High will save a city? Family, that's us. The Most High cannot. He will not destroy the cities that we dwell in, that we occupy in, are occupying. Now, he may remove us from there, but guess what, family? We are the surviving portion. He is not going to destroy. He said he's going to always have a remnant of Israel in existence, not no spiritual Israel, bloodline Israel. Don't let anyone come to you with that deception and delusion with that bloodline Israel, because that's what we see happening today. The ADL and all these different groups, they are pushing a spiritual Israel, the same, just like the church. Why? Because we can prove our bloodline. But what's going on with their bloodline? What's going on with their bloodline in the article that I shared that said that the Ashkenazi Jewish community that consists of 90% of the Jewish community, they are through DNA, their results is that they are 99% European. And out of that 99% European, they're 90% Ashkenaz. NASA, we got a problem, right? NASA, we got a problem. All right. So let me give you one more example here because I like to give scriptures. So the remnant are the left behind. Notice what Christ says in Matthew 20, verse 15 and 16. Notice what he says here. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own? Is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last, akar yath, shall be first, akkad, and the first, akkad. Last, akar yath. For many be called. But notice this here, family. But few are chosen. Oh, come on now. Many want to be that remnant, but only a few are the remnant. Let me show you here. Last. Notice what we see here. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Let's see what akar yath. Let's see what this word means. Notice what it says here. The last or end. But here it is. Remnant. Oh, y'all better, man, y'all should be dancing right now. Y'all should be doing this right now because I know I gave a whole nother revelation to many of you guys that understand that text. Y'all should be doing this right now. Y'all should be doing that right now. See, Christ is dealing with the remnant family, but that's not how it's being taught in the assemblies. Your pastor won't teach you that understanding of the text. The first shall be last, and the last shall be what? First. He's dealing with the remnant, right? Again, remnant. We are the remnant family. So again, sha'ar is the primitive root of sha'ar which means be left behind, redundant. Okay, so just want to give you clarity on that. So let's get back to the other. I just want to give a quick, teaching on that word remnant, just so that way you guys understand. So let's get back to the other. Let me remove that. Let me stop this, put the share, and let me pull back the other lesson that we're covering. But I just wanted to make sure you guys understand what it means to be the remnant. This is why many are hating on us right now, because they don't want us to come to the understanding that we are the remnant. We are the surviving portion. They don't want us. They don't want the rest of the world to know that we are the surviving portion. So, family, we are the surviving portion. We are descendants of those that got raptured, those that were carried off, those that were taken, those that were raped, those that was kidnapped, those that were abducted, that were snatched away. Two in the field. Guess what? One got taken. Come on, family. We got raptured, family. We cannot deny that. And the scriptures give clarity to prophesying the transatlantic world war. So National Geographic, right? Notice what it says here. Stolen from Africa, right? Enslaved people first arrived in colonial Virginia in 1619. Now, family, let's make it clear. Some are going to the indentured servitude. There's a difference of indentured servitude versus cattle, which is also synonymous to chattel slavery, right? Treating people like animals. Indentured servitude, you had laws that governed indentured servants. You had there was a two-part agreement. Whether there was some shiesty stuff going along with those agreements, that's a different story. But those were they were servants, volunteer servants, in debt, whatever the case may be. But chattel slavery, 1619, National Geographic, stolen from Africa, enslaved people first arrived in colonial Virginia in 1619. It says, stolen by Portuguese slave traders, kidnapped by English pirates, and taken far from home. Africa arrivals to colonial Virginia in 1619. marked the origins of U.S. slavery. No matter how you look at it, I know it was a colonies at that time and it started with Virginia, but that is still part of the United States. That's the history of the United States, right? That is the history of the United States. You can't get around it, right? Virginia, one of the first states of the United States. You can't get around it. One of the first states within the colony, especially when you start understanding the 13 colonies. Those are the foundational territories of the United States. So stolen by Portuguese slave traders, kidnapped by English pirates, and taken far from home. African arrivals to colonial Virginia in 1619 marked the origin of U.S. slavery. This is why the United States in 2019, they had a 400-year grant that they were giving out for those that were teaching about the 400 years. 400 years from what? 1619. Come on, family. We can't get away from it. We can't try to tell that, hey, that's not what the U.S. meant by it. Yes, they did. They marked the history of this country dating back to these times. All right. So again, 1619. In late August 1619, 20 and odd captive Africans touched the soil at Point Comfort, now Fort Monroe National Monument. This is right down in when you start getting down to the Hampton Roads area. You know, I know where this at, been to it and everything. Part of England's new colony in Virginia. These men and women had been stolen from their homes in Africa. Have been what? Stolen, kidnapped. That's Exodus chapter 21, verse 16, either 15 or 16. The law about kidnapping, taking someone, abducting someone, rapturing them, right? So Quanop, England's new colony in Virginia, these men and women have been stolen from their homes in Africa. They have been raptured, forced to board a ship and sail for months into the unknown. The first Americans in an English colony, their arrival is considered by many historians to the beginning of a 400-year story filled with tragedy, endurance, survival, and a legacy of resilience, inequality, and oppression. These first Africans in Virginia were not the first Africans in North America. See, they make it clear. Let me say that again. These first Africans in Virginia were not the first Africans in North America, but they were a significant part of the ever-changing Atlantic world during the colonial era. Their travels and experiences represent those of more than 12.5 million other captives who were taken from Africa to be sold in the Americas during the 5 centuries of the transatlantic slave trade. Their story marks an important historical transition as the North American colonies began to turn away from indentured servitude, just what I pointed out, instead rely on chattel slavery. So again, not a single Negro, not a single Native American should be celebrating this so-called feast day. Come on, family. Come on, family. I know we had some interruptions in this particular live stream, but guess what? None of us should be celebrating this. None of us. And I want to say peace and blessings. I think I saw another super sticker here. I want to say peace and blessings. Thank you, Sister Tiffany Moore. Thank you for the super sticker. Family, let's show some love for Tiffany, Sister Tiffany this morning or this afternoon. Thank you again. And also Rashida, Shalom. I want to say thank you as well. Let's show some love to them, family, for their contributions. So I really appreciate you, family. All right. So again, none of us should be celebrating. Not a single Negro, Hebrew, right? Not a single Negro or Aboriginal to this country should be celebrating Thanksgiving. And actually, most of them don't, right? Most of them don't. Just like you don't see most, like with Columbus Day. You don't see Columbus Day being celebrated in Puerto Rico. You don't see Columbus Day being celebrated in other places, but it's celebrated here. So again, not a single Negro, Native American should be celebrating the holidays of our oppressors. These are holidays of our oppressors. Christmas, holiday of our oppressors. Easter, holiday of our oppressors. All of these are holidays of our oppressors. So just to give clarity, I know I make reference to this source over and over again. You guys should have it memorized by now. But just to show you again, history in the Catholic Church, papal grants to the kings of Portugal, giving authority to enslave Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is what? At war, right? We can't get around it, family. All right. Portuguese captain brought to the Gold Coast some Moorish prisoners of war, exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves, and brought these back to Lisbon. A trading settlement was established in Lagos by 1444. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property right. Right. Remember, I said I was going to circle back to these things here. Property rights over the newly discovered West African territories. And so Pope Nicholas V, Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, was approached and was apparently led to believe that these territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens, in other words, Arabs, and those that was practicing Islam and other enemies of Christendom. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of what? War. Family, it was a world war. Understand what a world war is. Multiple nations came together, the crafty council, the 83rd book of Psalms, to do what? Wipe out the reputation, to destroy the hidden ones. We are the hidden ones. We've been hidden for quite some time. Now we are coming out of hiding. Right? Coming out of hiding like Diana Ross. We coming out. Hallelujah. So when you understand this here, it was a war. Applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. Who did it? The Pope. The Pope. Papa. Right? So we can't get around this. Right? So wrapping this up. We're not Saracens, we're not Muslims, and we're not the enemies of Christendom. Okay, so last thing I want to point out, because I could go into more of this, but I want to highlight one last thing, right? And this ties into what we dealt with, like the manifest destiny and the property rights. I want you to understand this with understanding the key thoughts about Christopher Columbus, his era, not just Christopher Columbus, but the era he lived in, right? Let me just explain this real quick. Christopher Columbus discovered absolutely nothing. He had an encounter, but not a discovery. Let me make that clear. This goes for all those that stumbled on this territories of this land, right? As we talked about, these pilgrims, they did not discover absolutely nothing. They had an encounter, but it was not a discovery. Guess what? Christopher Columbus, he was an adventurer, an opportunist, a willful murderer, a liar, a pedophile. And what he set in motion was the basis of Western capitalism, the exploitation of both Africans and indigenous Americans who had committed no crimes against Europe and did not know of European intentions to conquer and enslave them. Travelers from great African empires of Mali in the 1300s reported that the king of Mali told them of two expeditions with hundreds of boats sent from Africa west to the great oceanus Ethiopicus, in other words, the Atlantic Ocean, which was called the Ethiopian Ocean. But notice what it says here. It says again, two expeditions with hundreds of boats sent from Africa, right, west, right, to West Africa, into the great oceanus Ethiopicus, right, Atlantic Ocean. In other words, this Atlantic Ethiopicus, actually notice this first portion of it, Ethiop. This is telling you that Atlanta is a word that comes from Ethiopicus. Ethiop is what? Ethiopia. Ethiopia, eighth, Ethiops means black face. So just the name of the Atlantic Ocean, the origin of that name comes from the Ethiopians. Oh, come on, family. Come on, family. I'm giving you some nuggets here. You guys should be right now, just off that nugget right there, you guys should be doing this. All right, you guys should be doing that, family. So that's that Atlantic Ocean. The name comes from Ethiopia. Ultimately, when we start looking at it from the Hebrew perspective, we'll see Kawash or Kush. Anyway, so which is called the Ethiopian Ocean. Some evidence suggests that there were, or there may have been, periods of ancient Brazil, or excuse me, come out through. Some evidence suggests that there may have been periods of ancient trade from Brazil. There was physical evidence of a settlement dating back to the year, like to the 10th century. But there's stuff that goes even further than that, right? But a little piece of history that the Dufuna canoe is an 8,000-year-old canoe discovered by the Fulani herdsmen in Africa, or in Nigeria, in 1987. It is the oldest boat to be discovered in Africa and one of the oldest known worldwide. He never set foot, right, Columbus, he never set foot on the North South American continents, but he set in motion a concept called divine rights and manifest destiny. Let me say that again, because I said I was going to circle back to that manifest destiny. He set in motion a concept called divine rights and manifest destiny, meaning in the name of God. That's what it means. Divine rights and manifest destiny. It means in the name of God, because they had ships and basic technology that they had the right to go into other people's countries and exploit their resources, take their women, rape them at will, and use their babies as bait, right? Alligator bait, all kinds of molestations and things, perversions. Man, they completely decimated Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, the original people at the in Puerto Rico, most of it, only what, maybe if 1 or 2% actually survived. Right, many of the people you see in Puerto Rico is a combination of people from Spain, right, and also our ancestors who were enslaved. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. So maybe if he'd actually traveled to the Americas, he would have had an encounter with a group of people in what is now called Loudoun County, Tennessee, where you have the Back Creek Stone, who wrote in an ancient language that is of ancient Hebrew vernacular. Christopher Columbus' era is what set in motion the following thoughts about Africans and indigenous Americas, right? This is in the form of evangelism, right? This spirit is still in evangelism by way of the church. The myth that of a people waiting, in darkness. In other words, that the people that they discovering, they were in darkness, waiting for another people to come and bring them light. Man, the Native Americans here were living very well. Our people were chilling, living very well. These different tribes that they kidnapped and brought here were living very well. Colonialism, they operate in that myth that everyone outside of their doctrine is in darkness. So the myth of a people waiting in darkness for another people to bring them light, the myth of a people without a legitimate God, the myth of the invader and conqueror as being civil by bringing order. So that's what the manifest destiny is. That's the behaviors of those that have enslaved our ancestors. That's the behavior. That's what is called evangelism now, right? Colonialism is just hidden under the term evangelism now, because that's the approach of the evangelist. Any person that they come in contact with, they want to tell them that you're in darkness, you are lost, and I'm here to bring you the light. Remember, Hasatan disguises himself as the messenger of light, and his ministers do the same thing. These people came up on the shore coast of many of these different islands, and they were the ones operating in the spirit of Hasatan, the very the prophecies that Apostle Paul warned, that they disguised themselves as messengers of light. Come on, family. Come on, family. What happened to all the Spaniards and the Spaniards that was here occupying this territory that was bringing our ancestors here? What happened to them? Are they now converted or not converted, considered to be Caucasian now? Now we start getting into the numbers, because it was mostly Spaniards that was here. Spain. Christopher Columbus got permission from what? The Church of Spain. Anyway, family, I'm going to stop right here because I got more I could share, but I got to get ready to run. But I just want to take a little time out, family, to talk to you guys. And I hope this helps you. I hope this gives you clarity and give you opportunity, some things to think about and to talk to your loved ones if you do come in contact with them this weekend. So with that being said, family, I get ready to run, and I pray that you guys this be blessed, be encouraged. Don't get caught up with the hoopla. You know what I mean? Stand still, see the salvation of the Most High. These Egyptians, these strongholds, these attacks that we are under right now, guess what? Won't have power over us. The Most High will fight for us. But guess what, family? The kicker is we have to hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.